You ever hear of a weapon so terrifying that even when its master was long dead, people were still scared to even whisper about it? This ain't just a sword we're talking about, it's a legend carved in steel. Imagine a blade that didn't just cut through flesh and bone, but cut through fear itself. This was the samurai sword, the katana. But this one? This one had a reputation that stretched beyond the grave. Picture this, Japan centuries ago. A time where honor meant everything, where men would rather die by their own hand than live with shame. And in the middle of all that, there's this sword. Not just any sword, but one so perfectly forged it felt alive. The stories say it sang when it was drawn, like the metal itself knew what it was about to do. People swore they could hear it humming in the dark, calling out, daring someone to face it. Now let's be real, most legends get exaggerated. You know how ghost stories are, people adding their little flair to make it scarier. But this wasn't just about superstition. The samurai believed their soul lived inside their sword. Their honor, their spirit, their life, it was all bound to the blade. So when a warrior known for his brutality, his mastery, and his absolute fearlessness poured everything into his weapon, what do you think was left behind when he died? The story goes that the sword didn't stop taking lives after its owner was buried. Soldiers who picked it up, they didn't last long. Some went mad, some turned on their own allies, and some just disappeared like the earth swallowed them whole. People started saying the sword was cursed, that it carried the weight of all the blood it had spilled. Imagine walking past a battlefield at night and seeing the moonlight glint off steel lying in the dirt. Any other weapon you'd grab it. But this one? You leave it there. Farmers, warriors, even thieves, they'd rather risk hunger or defeat than touch it. That's how strong fear can be. But here's the thing, it wasn't just about fear of curses. It was about respect. In samurai culture, the sword wasn't a tool, it was sacred. A sword like this, stained with victory after victory, it carried a story bigger than any man. And even in death, people respected that. They treated it like a ghost you don't want to disturb. Like walking through a graveyard at midnight, you don't go tapping on headstones just to see what happens. And think about it, we're talking about a time where the sword decided battles, where the swing of a blade decided whether your family lived or starved. This one sword had written history in blood. People feared it because they knew what it meant. To face it was to face 100 warriors before you who'd already failed. That's a shadow no one wanted over them. Now let me tell you about one particular story that still gives me chills. There was this clan that fought for control over their region, and the samurai who owned this sword was their champion. Dude was unstoppable, fast, precise, ruthless. They say he could cut a man down so clean, the victim didn't even realize he was dead until he took 2 more steps and collapsed. And when he finally fell in battle, the sword was taken as a prize. But every warrior who tried to claim it, they met brutal, ugly ends. One slashed his own commander in the middle of a ceremony. Another locked himself away and starved, whispering to shadows that weren't there. Soon the clan buried the sword deep underground, like hiding it from the world was the only way to protect themselves. And yet, even buried, people said they could hear the steel singing on stormy nights. Crazy, right? But here's the part that hits me the most. This story isn't just about a sword. It's about how fear lingers. How a man's reputation can outlive his body. How something forged by human hands can become bigger than life itself. It's about the kind of legacy we leave behind. That samurai's name? It faded with time. But his blade? People remember it. People feared it. That's powerful. Now think about this. Maybe it wasn't the sword at all. Maybe it was the belief in the sword that did the damage. Fear can eat people alive. Fear makes you see ghosts and shadows, makes you hear voices in silence. If enough people believe something is cursed, it becomes cursed in their minds. And that's the kind of fear you can't outrun. That's what fascinates me. Because when you strip it down, it's not just about steel. It's about us, humans. About how we give meaning to objects, how we pour our souls into things, how legends live on because we keep telling them. That sword became immortal not because of its edge, but because people couldn't stop talking about it. Fear kept it alive. Respect kept it alive. And maybe, just maybe, the soul of that warrior really did stay in there, laughing from the other side every time his enemies trembled. And here's the kicker. Some say the sword still exists. Hidden away in a temple, locked in a vault, or maybe buried so deep nobody dares to dig it up. Can you imagine stumbling across it? Would you be brave enough to pick it up? Or would you walk away heart pounding, afraid to take home a piece of history that might not let you go? That's the power of this legend. Even today, hundreds of years later, we're still talking about it. Still shivering at the thought of steel that remembers. Still wondering what happens if you're the one who wakes it up. So next time you hear someone say, "It's just a sword," think again. Sometimes a weapon is more than metal. Sometimes it's memory. Sometimes it's fear. And sometimes, it's the ghost of a warrior who refuses to stay dead. Now if you're still here, I gotta ask, do you believe in curses or do you think it's all in people's heads? Drop your thoughts in the comments, 'cause I want to know what side you're on. And if you enjoyed this story, don't just click away, stick around. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with a friend who loves dark history and chilling legends. Trust me, we've got way more stories like this coming, and you don't want to miss what's next. Because some legends die when you stop telling them. And some live forever, just like this sword.